Welcome to the Heightened Report. Today we are talking about tattoos. And we are having a bit of a discussion on if we as Christians, how we should feel about tattoos, if we should get them, what meaning it would have for us, and what the Bible says about it. But before we get to what the Bible says about it, maybe Yaku can give us a bit of background about tattoos and where it originated, the words around using tattoos and all of that. So if you can give us a bit of insight on that.
I think I can do exactly that. Okay, so obviously throughout the centuries, there have been many cultures and many religious systems and countries that have used tattoos. It's varied and wide. What is important for us, I think, would be, let's talk about Greek. So from at least the 5th century BC, written records from the Greeks existed that mention tattoos being used for branding slaves, prisoners, and criminals, basically. And so I think let's look at the Greek words that are associated with tattoos. So the word stizin, is that said correctly? Stizin.
Can be Stysian or something like that as well.
Okay, that sounds better. Stysian. The Greek word stysian actually means to prick. So to prick your skin. And the word stigma was often used to refer to tattoos in Greek and Latin. And later, the word stigmata was replaced with signa. And signa actually means signs, characters, and stamps. And also the word cicatrices as scars. So if they prick their skin, scars are made. So decorative and religious tattoos were actually more used by the Egyptians and in Syria. And so this, with the Greek uses of tattoos, might have led to what is said in the Bible in Leviticus about tattoos.
Yes. So let's actually get to what the Bible says, and we can get an idea of why we are having this conversation and why it's relevant and what is relevant about it for us today. In Leviticus 19, verse 28, we read that ye shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead. Nor print any marks upon you, I am the Lord. And then in Deuteronomy, it says that ye are the children of the Lord your God. Ye shall not cut yourselves, nor make any boldness between your eyes for the dead. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. And the Lord hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself, above all the nations that are upon the earth. And there have been a few references throughout the Bible to things that might have been markings or certain, probably tattoos or things like that, certain jewelry. But the only other place I could find that sort of has the same ring to it as these two verses is in 1 Timothy 2 verse 9, which says, in like manner also, that women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broidered hair or gold or pearls or costly array. So before any woman throw stones at me and say they should, that I'm saying that they should not wear gold jewelry or anything, perhaps we should start discussing some of this, because it's hard to agree with all of this, isn't it?
None of this is really made any clear. There's no real clarity, a definite saying in the Bible, do this, don't do this, around this subject. Yeah. My first problem comes in with Leviticus. It's said very weird, in a strange manner. I've actually read multiple versions, translations of the Bible on this. So it says, ye shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead. And then immediately it says, nor print any marks upon you. So when we're just looking at language, are those two connected, or is it two separate things they're saying? Cuttings in your flesh for the dead and tattoos for the dead. Or is it cuttings in your flesh for the dead? Just stop there. And then nor print any marks upon you. Okay, so the question is it just confined to you should not make tattoos about someone who has passed away, or you shouldn't have any kind of tattoos?
I think what it's rather about, it's probably two separate things, because I think in all of these, in a sense, it's shown to a specific group of people who did certain things, people who made cuts in their flesh to show they are part of a certain group that probably worshipped some other god or did some other things. Bandits, perhaps even, you can think of that. And even certain religious groups, you can think in this time maybe the Egyptians in a religious way made certain tattoo markings with or without ink, it's not so clear, but made certain markings on their body to say they worship this sun god or some other Egyptian god. So in all of this, we get an idea that God has tried to disconnect his people in a certain way from these people that made these markings. So in all of these cases, it was because of people making certain markings because they were part of a group and they were connected to a certain group. And God obviously didn't want them to connect and be part of those groups.
So basically what you're saying is our cultures today, our widespread cultures across the world, especially Christians where we came from, our different backgrounds, maybe, or actually definitely from our backgrounds, it's not something that's been with us all this time. It's something we've adopted from other cultures. And we should be careful to adopt things from other cultures and identify ourselves with those cultures if those cultures have different religious beliefs than us that go against Christianity. That's basically it.
And I think it's not so much the focus on the markings, but rather than the meaning of the markings and what it means to you. So to get away from the whole thing about the tattoo, think for a moment, if you write the word Christian on your forehead, what it says about you. People are going to look at you, okay, you're telling us you're a Christian, and they're going to start judging you as a Christian. So they are going to expect you to do things in a certain manner, and they are going to expect things that Christians, how Christians would act and things that Christians would do.
Another problem with that is if there's the word Christian on your forehead, literally and figuratively, you can say to people you're a Christian and you act a certain manner. People are going to start relating that to, oh, so this is how Christians act. If you swear all the time, if you blaspheme God's name the whole time, they're going to say, oh, well, that's what Christians do. And that's wrong because that's not what you are.
And really, it's with anything, the way, the clothes we wear, anything that shows us is going to give a first impression to the outside world. So rather than saying that we shouldn't wear tattoos or we shouldn't have these things, rather, I think we should be careful of the tattoos we have if we decide to have tattoos, to who we show that tattoos and what it says to the outside world, because you probably are going to be judged. And think beforehand, what's it going to say about you? And do you want them to think that about you? Because you're going to probably be in a situation where you want to tell them otherwise.
The problem is tattoos are, if we're kind of just moving away from the Bible sense of speaking of this, tattoos are obviously a permanent thing.
Yeah.
If you're young now and you get a tattoo 10, 20, 30 years from now, you're definitely not going to be the same person. You're not going to have the same beliefs or the same views on the world. And this thing that you said, oh, it's my characteristic, it shows who I am, that's not going to be true in a few years. So it's a very permanent thing. And yeah, people are going to judge you on it.
Yeah.
But let's move back again to, if this is a sin, if we're just looking at the Bible, just looking at what Leviticus and Deuteronomy says about it, does it specifically say this is bad, this is a sin? What do you get from that?
I don't see anywhere where it says it's a sin. If it was, I believe on the tablets it would have said don't put the tablets God gave to Moses. It would say in one of the commandments, don't put a tattoo on your body.
But Leviticus specifically says do not carve in your skin, do not have tattoos.
Yes,
Isn't that the same thing?
I think it is different because it's more like a guideline. Stay away from these things rather than specifically do not do this, otherwise you are sinning or otherwise you are going to hell or condemned to sin. It's rather a way of, don't do this, stay away from this, because you will be labeled as one of those people and you will be pushed away out of God's group of people and out of God's
just basically the Christianity concept,
yes, the Jews,
the kind of person you need. Oh, all right. So actually, let's quickly, I'm thinking about now in the context of different kind of tattoos you get. So one thing you see very often is symbols from other languages, from Asian languages. Often we get these tattoos that, oh, this symbol means this word. Now, first off, you are putting on a symbol from another language, another culture. They have very specific meanings around their words, and they have far different religions than Christianity. They're far off from Christianity. So I think that's a problem, because you are relating yourself to that culture, to that language. So yeah, you don't actually understand, and you don't understand the cultural significance of that word. Something else, putting on a tattoo of an animal or a creature, a beast, of something like that. When you think about what does the Ten Commandments say about praising symbols, praising figures,
praising deities, or praising anything else other than God?
And it does actually more specifically talk about symbols, graven images. Yeah. So graven image, obviously, images you create. That's an image you create on your skin. That is also, if it's a sin, a problem to have these images around your house or something like that. We talked about the Ten Commandments, where the gray area may be in that. But if that's straight up a sin, having that image on your body is even more of a sin, can be even more of a problem. And then also maybe tribal tattoos, which are just basically lines and crazy symbols and things. That also comes from a culture, or let's say a tribal mentality. We are in modern society, having a tribal mentality might be a problem. Then you get to the outlaws, the bandits, that these have been used in Egypt, Syria, Greece, those kinds of places. So the different kind of symbols you're going to put on your body has different meanings. They have different meanings, and different problems come with each of them. So that's also something you have to consider. So if you decide, okay, this is a sin because Leviticus and Deuteronomy says this, then don't do it in the first place. If you come to a bit of the gray area that maybe it's not really a sin, it depends on how you do it, also consider what kind of tattoos you're getting.
Yeah. And it's going to be like that for the rest of your life. So consider thinking of one word that describes you, put on your forehead, for instance, and that word is going to describe you for the rest of your life. And it seems like quite a commitment to make.
So the thing is, in the end, be careful about this. Please consider it. Please go read up. You can go read the text we just read to you. Those are basically the three ones that have to do with these kinds of things.
And at the end of the day, we need to focus much more on our acts and less on what the image we try to uphold, and much less on our labels. I think it's much more important the things we do and the way we treat people, rather than the labels we show people.
All right, I'm good with that. All right.
This is the Heightened Report, and I hope you can give us some insights and your insights. If you don't agree with us, tell us. If you do agree with us, we would like to hear what you think about it. Pop us a message at the end of it, a comment, and you can also comment on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page.
Yeah, please tell us what you think about tattoos, when it's right, when it's not right. Go right ahead. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.